Okay, I'd like to bring this meeting to order for the Town of Brunswick Planning Board for July 17th, 2025. If everybody will please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, our agenda this evening is as follows. Number one, Crown Castle amendment to special use permit and site plan. Applicant seeks an amendment to an existing special use permit and site plan pertaining to the wireless communications facility located at 8890 Pelletish Road. This is the Callahan Cropseyville Quarry location. Pursuant to the Federal Communications Act and related to FCC rules and regulations. A public hearing will commence at 7 p.m. Crown Castle is the applicant. Number two, Crown Castle, amendment to special use permit and site plan. Applicant seeks an amendment to an existing special use permit and site plan pertaining to the wireless communications facility located at 227 Bald Mountain Road pursuant to the Federal Communications Act and related FCC regulations, rules and regulations. The public hearing will commence at 7:05 or sooner as it can be heard. And that is the Crown Castle is the applicant. Number three, Polito Development Group, site plan. Applicant seeks site plan approval to construct a retail store on 1.19 acre parcel on property located at 291 Oakwood Avenue. Thomas Murley is the applicant. Number four, Paramount Building Group, major subdivision. Applicant proposes a major subdivision on approximately 33 acres of land, as well as construction of a new road with a cul-de-sac and a water main extension on property located on the northeast corner of Spring Avenue Extension and Crick Road. Paramount Building Group of New York is the applicant. Today, we just received a email regarding this, and the applicant chooses to be withdrawn from the agenda and placed on the next month's agenda, or the next meeting's agenda. Number five, CVE North America waiver subdivision site plan and special use permit. Applicant seeks a subdivision on 99.51 acre parcel to create two new lots of 24.96 acres and 74.55 acres and construct two community solar facilities on property located at 511 McChesney Avenue Extension. CVE North America Incorporated is the applicant. In addition to these, we have three new applications to be reviewed under new business. So as I stated before, there is two public hearings. I will begin our meeting by opening up the first public hearing. But before I do that, I'm going to read the procedure for the public hearing. And this will pertain to both of the Crown Castle public hearings. The purpose of the public hearing is to hear concerns, comments, and views from the general public regarding a particular proposal or application. All public hearings are electronically recorded, and written record of proceedings is generated. In most cases, this written record is included with the minutes of the planning board regular meeting, which is usually conducted immediately after the public hearing. The applicant will be required to respond to all concerns and comments made at the public hearing, and subsequently the planning board will consider all concerns and comments when evaluating the application to ensure that the applicant has addressed all the issues in question. The public hearing will be conducted as follows. The notice of public hearing will be read by the planning board attorney. Next, the applicant will give a brief presentation on the proposal and provide any updates on the application. Upon completion of the applicant's remarks, the chairman of the planning board will recognize persons from the public, and these individuals be allowed to speak, offer their concerns, views, and comments. Since the public hearing, and since the proceedings of the public hearing are electronically recorded, it is requested that all speakers step up and use the podium, the microphone at the podium, and all speakers will give their name and address for the record. That being said, I will now open the first public hearing, and this is for the Crown Castle Amendment to Special Use for its site plan on the 8890 Pelletish Road site. The notice of public hearing will be read by me since the planning board attorney is absent today. So the notice of public hearing, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the planning board of the town of Brunswick, 7 p.m. on Thursday, July 17, 2025, at the Brunswick Town Office, 336 Town Office Road, Brunswick, New York, 12180, to review the application pursuant of Section 6409 of the Federal Spectrum Act to modify a previously approved site plan and special use permit submitted by Crown Castle USA Incorporated concerning a wireless communication facility located at 88-90 Pelletish Road, which is the Callahan Cropseyville quarry location. The applicant has submitted the application as an eligible facility request pursuant to federal law for the replacement of existing equipment at this facility. Copies of the application and supporting documents are available at the Brunswick Town Hall and are available for public inspection during regular business hours. All interested parties will be heard at the public hearing. The date of this is July 1st, 2025, Brunswick, New York, the Planning Board of the Town of Brunswick by Russell L. Oster, Chairman. This was distributed to all residents and property owners within 300 feet of the applicant's site, and it was posted on the Troy Record and the town board. So with that, I will officially open the public hearing for this application. Will the applicant come up and give a presentation on this?
Good evening, my name is Don Carpenter. I'm here representing Crown Castle tonight. The application is very straightforward. Verizon is swapping some antennas, some upgraded technology. There's actually a slight reduction in the square footage of the antennas. 6 of the antennas are identical. The interior is different, but as far as the exterior, they're pretty much identical. One panel antenna that they're removing is sort of a long stick panel, and the panel antenna they're replacing it with is a smaller, almost rectangular pizza box.
Okay.
So there will be a kind of a significant visual change, although it is a stealth tower, so I don't know how much will actually be visible. All the other changes to the Verizon equipment are done in the interior, so that's the only exterior change that they're proposing, just the antennas on the tower.
Okay. I can open up the floor to the public. Does anybody wish to come up and make any comments on this? Have any questions for the applicant? Any views that they wish to express? Once again, this is strictly for this particular location. There are 2 locations for public hearing tonight. Once again, is there anyone who wishes to make any comments? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. In regards to the public hearing, is there any need to have written comments extended for a period of time? Then I will vote on the motion as it was given. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the public hearing is officially closed on that. Okay. The second public hearing is for a similar situation. The notice of public hearing. Notice hereby given that a public hearing will be held on the planning board of the town of Brunswick at 7:05. I'm a little late. Or soon thereafter be heard on Thursday, July 17, 2025, at the Brunswick Town Hall, 336 Town Office Road, Brunswick, New York, 12180, to review an application pursuant of section 6409 of the Federal Spectrum Act to modify a previously approved site plan and special use permit submitted by Crown Oil USA, or Crown Castle, excuse me. Incorporated concerning a wireless communication facility located at 227 Bull Mountain Road. The applicant has submitted an application as an eligible facility request pursuant to federal law for the replacement of existing equipment at that facility. Copies of the application supporting documents are available at the town, Brunswick Town Hall, and are available for public inspection during regular business hours. All interested persons will be heard at this public hearing dated July 1st, 2025, at Brunswick, New York. The planning board of the town of Brunswick, Russell Oscar Chairman. This was also distributed to all residents and property owners with 300 feet of the site, and it was posted in the Florida Record and on the town board. So that being said, you can have the floor on this one.
This is an identical situation.
Yeah. And this is, once again, is at the quarry. No, this is Bald Mountain.
All now,
Okay.
It's a different tower
I
type.
was just saying if everybody was listening.
We're paying attention.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crown Royal they were.
This is an existing self-support tower, it's non-stealth. However, they're actually doing the same thing. Unlike the other site, the two antennas that exist are not grouped together, they're not like next to each other. So for this site, the existing view is going to be a little bit different than the proposed view. It's kind of more compact, we're moving the antennas together. Not that it really matters much. They're identical in size, and the ones that they are replacing, they're replacing with a much smaller antenna. So it's nearly identical to the other site.
All right. Anything else to add? And I will now open up the floor to the public in regards to this application. This is the one on Bald Mountain Road. It's identical repairs and upgrades of a communications tower. So anyone wish to come up and make any comments? Any views on this? Any questions for the applicant? Okay, once again, does anyone wish to come up from the public to discuss? I will assume that before we close this, that there is not a need for any written response extension. And I will make a motion to close this public hearing. Do I have a second? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. This concludes both the public hearings. We will now move on to our regular meeting. And first on our agenda is to review the minutes of the last meeting. Everybody had an opportunity to review the The planning board meetings for June 24, 2025. Are there any corrections, additions?
I have one addition.
Okay.
On page 10, almost halfway down the page.
Okay,
And Mr. Bonesteel, you might want to weigh in on this, since I think it was your discussion. Talks about render the overall, I believe the word should, inserted should be discharge to surface water as small. But it's sort of missing.
Missing the word.
Just says, which would render the overall to surface water as small. Talking
Yeah,
about.
it should be discharged surface water.
Page 10, after the word overall, midway down on the right-hand side.
okay. Okay, any others?
That's all.
Great, then I will make, or entertain a motion to approve the minutes as they were amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
I made the motion for that. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor? Any opposed? Now to start our regular agenda, Crown Castle, would you come up and we'll discuss the public hearing and the procedure from here on in. Okay, this is, the first on our agenda is obviously the one at the quarry, the 8890 Pelletish Road. We did receive on this, on both these applications, I believe, a notification of zoning review action by the Department of the Bureau of Economic Development and Planning for Rensselaer County. And basically, they said that they have determined that the proposal does not have any major impact on county plans and that local consideration shall prevail. I don't understand the difference of these two that I received. Oh, one's for the special use permit and one's for the site plan review. So you got both for those. Did you get copies of these?
It may have sent them to the Crown's office.
Okay,
Just for passage, 227 Bald Mountain didn't require one.
okay. All right, we had the public hearing for this one. There was no comments. Usually, when there are comments made, we require that the applicant respond to all the comments in writing. And obviously, there was none, so we'll waiver that requirement. And we'll move on to the secret review and the action taken on the proposal. So is there any questions that you have for the applicant on this particular site plan and special use permit? As we reviewed before, this is pretty much a formality as far as the federal regulations required to.
Something, but it does require that they.
Well, this is basically done for the record.
Yes,
Okay.
but if they weren't following your zoning, you would have some input.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, they're not forcing you to prove exactly, I mean, sort of are.
Sort of. That's all right, I understand. Is there any questions for the applicant on this? Then if there isn't any, I will entertain a seeker determination.
I'll make a negative declaration.
There's a negative declaration. Do I have a second? There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? On the proposal itself, the special use permit, do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan and special use permit for Verizon antennas at
Okay,
Quarry.
this is the quarry. I don't think there's any conditions or anything you have to put on this. So the motion, was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a second. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have the first one done. The second one is regarding this is regarding the court. No, this is Ball Town Road. Okay, come on. This is the Crown Castle USA for the 226 Bald Mountain Road. Once again, we had the public hearing, there was no comments. So we were going to waiver any requirement by the applicant to have a written comments on the public hearing. Is there any questions or on this particular application? Yeah, then I'll entertain a motion for a seeker determination.
I'll make a negative.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion on the seeker? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now on the motion to approve. There's a motion to approve with no conditions. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set.
So on the first one, that T-Mobile was co-locating on, I was here last month. We had a public hearing. Was that one also approved? Maybe I was so
Yes.
tired, I forgot.
It was.
Just making sure. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Number 3, Colito Development Group. Now, we have a couple things that we wanted to address here, the issue of easements. And I believe that when you got those to Wayne, the engineer, and he reviewed them.
Yeah.
And the plans? And the plans, yes. This was the final, based on some of the comments we made at previous meetings to do the final site plan. And I assume all those conditions have been met.
Yeah.
So they have the easement around the other building there?
No. Around the building?
It's not exactly, well, maybe, Francis possibly for the applicant. Mr. Merlin provided me with an easement, it's a proposed easement because both properties right now are owned by the same party. But it's basically an all encumbering access easement, so parties interested in driving onto this lot can go anywhere on the southern lot. So that easement, which would be filed with the transfer of property, would grant this property owner access over all of the carriageways on the southern part. So it's not restricted to here or here, it's basically the whole property.
But my question is, you're gonna exit what we've been talking about, going behind the existing building?
Yes. Right.
If they have to.
If,
I don't see how they can turn around and go, depending on the size of the truck.
Well, they could have a short box truck.
if it's a short box truck, right, he could turn around and go back out this entrance, but, if it's a trailer, he's likely gonna back in and he can go down and around. And that easement language there allows them to traverse any part of the pavement of the southern parcel.
Okay.
And that would be filed, executed when there was a different property owner. Right now, Murley's on both parcels.
Okay. And he intends to sell the other property, he doesn't.
Right.
Lease it, okay.
Calito is the intended buyer, and they'll lease it to the tenant.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, their lawyers will review it.
I was presuming that language was prepared by an attorney. It's probably something they discussed during the subdivision review. I don't know if this board discussed it, but it's been around for that amount of time. And it's written on the map as, it's written on Rod Michael's base map as a proposed easement, which when we file when we file the site plan, at some point it'll be actually a recorded easement.
It's for ingress and egress and utilities.
Correct. It has language for access and for access to utilities
Okay.
that exist on that southern part. So I don't know what comes first, chicken or the egg, as far as, probably they'll do a property transfer prior to submitting for building permit, say. So that easement would likely be filed at that same time as the property transfer.
Okay.
Yeah, the copy of that should go to the building, once that's executed.
Right. Well, it'll be executed, I don't know if it's gonna be filed, it probably will have to be filed, at least it'll reflect on the site plan that it's an actual easement.
Upon reviewing the final site plan, were all those items that we were previously discussed, I think there was a couple of things regarding,
There were a few questions about the loading zone,
Yeah.
dumpsters, what he's depicted here, works.
I did the comment on the landscape plan.
It's not my expertise, so therefore, go ahead.
Barberry is on the New York State prohibited list since 2014.
On the what list?
The prohibited.
Oh, sure.
list.
Yeah, that might be a typo. We're trying to specify native plants, so we
It's not
can,
one.
we can strike that if that.
And then your count in your plant schedule doesn't match the plan. Off by. Plant schedule is 6 short on shrubs.
Okay. That calculation is, I presume we're using the calculation based on the language in the parking lot, in the parking. That's where we came up with that, so that you're satisfied with the number that's shown on the plan. I realize we probably have that data table. That could be a condition.
okay.
If I may, I did look at the Spiegeltown Fire Department's aerial ladder, 75-foot ladder, and they had a comment about that too. We did adjust this dumpster location a little bit, moved it back to give them a little more space to back in here.
Okay.
So their Typhoon style truck has a stated ladder length of 75 feet, horizontal reach of 70, so if they have to back in here to attack the fire, that ladder will get out over to the center of the building without any issue.
Okay.
And we showed a hatched area here to discourage parking in that loading zone access way.
That didn't change the number of parking spaces.
No, we didn't have any, we had that open before anyway, we didn't have any parking spaces there, I just figure it'll reinforce the idea that we have some striping on the that people want idly parked there.
The only other thing I noticed on the plan, it still says preliminary plans, we didn't take that out.
When we have a
Finalized.
final plan submitted for signature, it'll keep the final plan in. I've had some instances where people have built projects from preliminary plans that were not labeled preliminary, so. And it's not a good.
Okay. Any other questions?
My only other question was about the retaining wall and how tall you think that might be.
It's not really tall at all. At the, what would be the northwest corner, it's 4 feet out of the ground, just to make up that slope there. We're trying to get all of drainage to go to the south to the stormwater system, and we don't want to go in that way, so the Oakwood Avenue goes downhill there, so. And it's probably 50 feet each, eventually each way.
You're talking about the water coming off the parking lot, is that correct?
Right, this drainage from the building and the parking area has to be addressed by the practices that were designed with the original project.
Okay. Wayne, as far as stormwater management, is that,
I'm good with the stormwater management plan.
all right?
Yeah, for the record, there is an active permit, an active speedies permit on the project
Okay.
from 2016.
All right, we've hashed this around a little bit here, and does anybody see why we can't move forward on this? And possibly have a approval with some conditions as far as, the landscaping and the easements, so forth and so on be recorded. Is everybody comfortable with that? And let's proceed with a seeker determination. Anybody wish to make a seeker determination on it?
I'll make a negative declaration of secret.
Should we be our seeker guy tonight, huh? We have a second? Okay, is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now on the proposal to approve the site plan. Would be the conditions that I stated involving the landscaping issues as far as the species of one of them. And the count on the drawing.
The count in the table to match the drawing.
Okay. What was the species?
Barberry.
Barbara.
It's not. That's common.
Okay.
Herbs.
Okay. And the other condition was that the easements be filed with the building department.
That the town building department gets a copy of the easements when they're
Okay.
filed.
Is there any other conditions on the approval?
I have a question. What are the hours of operation?
I want to tell you the same thing that I told you the last time. I want to say, he told me 8 to 10 typically, or 8 to 9. I don't want him to speak. 8 to 10 unless local ordinance prohibited those kind of hours.
7 days a week.
Yeah, typically 7 days.
What are your lighting?
We submitted a lighting plan. I didn't bring a full-size copy. We did submit a lighting plan with the current drawings that you have. So there are 2 pole fixtures out in the parking lot here, and the balance are ornamental lights that are wall packs on the building. And that plan does show the foot candle values at the property line, so we're all under that half foot candle.
Those lights are coming on after busy time.
They're likely on a dawn to dusk timer. They have had to say on that plan if they have a photo cell on. That's probably how they're doing it. Again, unless the local ordinance or preference would be not have that. They're,
It seems to me that there's a home relatively close to the property line on the north side. I just wondering about the light.
that house is here. So between that, the one you're talking about, so it's downhill our topo doesn't go that far, but it's probably 20 or 30 feet change in elevation from here down to that house, which is here. And horizontally, you're looking at probably almost 200 feet from here.
200 feet.
From here to the house, yeah. I'm speculating, because I don't have it, but it's off here.
So I'm just concerned about the flow in that Miami Beach neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, if it's,
Well, like I said, from a foot candle standpoint, which is a typical measurement, you know, there's no calculations at the property line, so it doesn't, the bright light doesn't spill over the property line. Keep in mind too, there's an electric, overhead electric apparatus in here that services the solar farm that's down behind the property. And again, that sloped down, so, no. Would you be able to see the light? Yes, you can see light a long way, but the intensity of it is very light.
I don't believe it's gonna cause an issue.
Yeah, I don't think that house, I don't think they'll see it, to be honest with you, because it's pretty distinct grade there.
During the public hearing, there was no comments made from that property owner, was
No,
there? Okay.
I don't, there weren't actually any, there might have been one property owner who lived across the street.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple, I know there's a couple of comments that were talking about the traffic pattern on whether there was going to be striping on the road and traffic and so on. There's a couple of comments made that you addressed, and we reviewed those. Wayne, have you, did you actually look at the lighting plan?
Yeah, it meets the code. The light poles are at the required height of 15 feet, the downward lighting.
Okay.
And the lighting plan shows that it doesn't meet the requirements for the number of foot candles at the property line.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion on the floor. We have several conditions. Also, to strike the preliminary title on the plans. So you have the conditions. Did we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Now, is there any further discussion on that motion? This is a motion to approve with conditions. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? We're all set.
Very good, thank you.
Very much. Okay, next on our agenda was the Paramount Building Group. This applicant, like I said, had just received today notice that they would not be attending tonight's meeting and wish to be rescheduled for the next meeting, which is, just for the record, on August 7th, which is actually a 3-week period. Okay. Moving on to our fifth item on our agenda is the CVE North America. Hello. How are you? Good. Okay, we received tonight and this response, you were at our last meeting, we reviewed a potential draft of part 2 of the EIF. And we prepared, I received from you, Mr. Ahern, a copy from your office. And
Yes.
I received a copy of a presentation of the CV response to secret part 2. And I think at this point, I'd like to review those comments in response to our draft. We haven't. Wayne, did you have a prepared part two, is that correct?
I did prepare a part two based on the discussion in the board from last week.
How would you like to do this? Would you like us to review the changes and then your responses? Or
Sure. And just for a little clarification, we did submit the letter to you, but we also thought it would be helpful kind of just to submit this presentation that everyone just got. It essentially just takes our letter and kind of just gives you a bullet point list, a little easier to kind of
Okay.
rather than trying to run through a whole letter. And summarizes some of the stuff that we previously submitted, like visual impact assessment pictures and things like that.
Okay. All right then, you give them the floor?
Yeah, let's listen to the applicant first.
Okay.
So I think the first question was question 9 that we hit on.
Correct.
So one of the, and I'll try not to regurgitate too much. I know everyone here is more than capable of reading all the things we did.
Yeah, okay.
But one of the items was publicly accessible vantage points and the viewpoints of.
Can you
this project.
speak up?
Sure.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, sorry. One of the items that seemed to be a point of discussion at the last meeting was viewpoints and aesthetic resources. So when you, and as we were going through the part 2, Wayne kind of hit on a lot of things and what the workbook points to. So we thought it would be helpful to kind of give some examples from the workbook and walk through that. And one of those topics in the workbook is publicly accessible viewpoints. Nothing was specifically identified in our discussion last month, publicly accessible viewpoints that we can see this. There were discussions throughout the application process thus far of points to consider in our visual assessment. And I believe we did take pictures and do simulations from all of the viewpoints that were raised thus far. And we provided pictures of what it currently looks like, what it would look like with the project cited on it, what it would look like with the additional screening that we provided. So when you look at those examples and those vantage points and the duration that the project may be visible if somebody's driving by, the guidance on the book is that these would be akin to a small impact. Obviously, we all probably have our own opinions on it, but we thought it would be helpful to provide that detail and that guidance from PEC for your consideration.
All right, just to clarify what accessible advantage points may be according to the guidebook. It's scenic viewing spots, identified road pull-offs and overlooks, parks and greens, road intersections within the scenic byway, or other locally designated spots. Once again, this is guidelines.
Correct.
I think we could argue that there are certain points in the area that people drive these roads, and these points are, to them, considered scenic points. So, once again, I come back to maybe Wayne's interpretation of that. And I think he would agree with me that some of these spots that really aren't by definition on here are considered locally scenic spots. And I'll give you an example, like you drive over Garfield Road, there's a scenic part of Garfield Road, it's a beautiful valley. And everybody that drives that road realizes that. And it's not designated by the town, but it's just appreciated by the residents.
Right.
In this case, I think there's one on Crick Road, as you get to the top, I mentioned Peninsula Lane. It's once again a scenic spot for the residents, and from that spot, you can see that hill. So it's, I understand what you're saying. Whether it's major impact or a minor impact is, I think, is up for discussion, so.
Yes, and I think part of what we were discussing is that even when it is visible, right, these are situations where you're driving through, it's visible for short distances. And, you know, Creek Road, I think we discussed previously, at the intersection of Creek Road, there's an existing project. That project, there's an existing project off of Creek Road.
Yeah, I saw that in your letter.
If you turn to the last page of the
Do you know
presentation,
how many panels are in that project?
I can go back and look.
9,000.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more than half of what you wrote the plan.
I don't think that means it's any less visible. If
Well,
if we're talking about magnitude,
Well, you wrote it up. I mean,
Right,
the
but I don't-
9,000 panels versus 16,000 panels is certainly not being considered.
right, but when you're talking about what portions of this project are viewable, we're not talking all 16,000 panels are viewable at every same exact moment, correct? Just like when you drive by on
We
Creek Road.
need to get an understanding here. I'm not against solar. I have it on my house, but I don't want to look at it, basically. I think there are plenty of places in the town of Brunswick for solar panels. I don't think this is one of them.
I would disagree that a use that is permitted in code can't be visible whatsoever. I don't think that's a reasonable position to take. And the town already has several projects, and from my experience, most of them are visible on the street.
Not of this scale.
I think our,
That's my point.
I think our visual assessment showed that the scale of what is visible is not what I think it's being portrayed.
Would you like to respond to the,
The only thing I have to say is that when I did my review, I took all the materials that the applicant had submitted, including the visual impact assessment. So some of my discussion came from what was, came out of that visual impact assessment. And according to the visual impact assessment that was prepared by CBE North America's consultant, it says the facility is visible to the Garfield School National Registry number 90 NR00959, located near the intersection of near 2 and Woodlawn Road. They also took a 2-mile radius of the view shed area, which included a segment of Route 2. And the report states that approximately 50% of Route 2, a high-use road that passes through the 2-mile radius of the view shed study area, has views of the facility. So when I did my review, I used the information that the applicant provided, and that's how I drafted up the part 2.
all right, we'll come back to this, all right? Let's go to some of the other,
The Route 2 discussion, Wayne, I think there was a discussion with Andy. I don't know if anyone had a chance to look, but I looked at the comp plan, excuse me, And I couldn't find anything that specifically designated the Route 2 area as like a resource or anything. There was a comment about creating a plan with the county, but I couldn't find anything where there was a specific designation. That was 9E that we brought up towards the end of our discussion.
All right.
Yeah, it's not a designated scenic byway.
Yeah, I mean,
However, there is something in the workbook that talks about high-use roads and then what the visual impact is to high-use roads.
okay. I seem to recall that there may not have been a discussion about Route 2 specifically, but there was discussion on which road, Route 7 or Route 2, would be commercially developed. And it was the understanding that the commercial development on Route 7 would preserve Route 2 as more of a rural characteristic of the town of Brunswick. Whether it was officially written down or not, I served on the comprehensive plan committee, and I think, and that was well attended by numerous public hearings that basically acknowledged the fact that Route 7 would be zoned for more commercial use, developed commercially, because it was, an active state highway to the east. Where Route 2 would be preserve the rural characteristic of the town. Whether it was put in writing or not, I think that was an understanding when the comprehensive plan was presented.
Yeah, I just took away from the meeting that we were being asked to review the comprehensive plan and see if there was a text confusion. I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that we followed through, and I didn't find it.
I understand. I'm just trying to put a little more insight into
Right.
what we're trying to do with Route 2 as far as, keep it a scenic highway. So, with that being said, we'll move on to this presentation showing a winter view of back of Garfield.
Yes, so
And from those, you can obviously see that it would be seen.
So if you look at page 4, the picture on the right is zoomed in. You can see the bushes on the top there that are meant to screen. And this was, if the board recalls, this was the area where we provided another one of these pictures for you. If the board felt it was necessary and the school agreed, we could put some bushes in the back of the school next to that shed as additional screening if they so desired. But obviously, again, they would have to agree.
So you would mitigate this problem by putting new screening on the Garfield property.
If they would accept it, yes. Our proposal was, and I'm sorry we didn't bring the picture for tonight for a little review again, but the proposal was essentially to leave the shed and just go next to the shed or behind the shed, or if they want to move the shed, just put a row of plantings there.
I understand the logic behind that, but I don't understand that. I don't understand why you would select these these particular points and shield them individually.
Well, we have planting, if you look at the top of the picture on the right,
Yeah?
you can see the trees in there. There are bushes there. There just was a concern at one of the meetings that might not be sufficient. So we said, if the board didn't feel that that was sufficient, we would put additional plantings down by the school property.
Okay.
So we do have, if you look at the landscape, we do have a lot of landscaping on the parcel itself to screen the project. But if there were additional areas that were identified as concerns, we could address it. Offer to it.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If during the public hearing you had 50 residents with houses around this project, and they could see this field, would you be willing to put vegetation on every one of those properties?
I
So they
think that
can
would
see it
probably,
out their back window?
I think that would probably be on what we can do. But again, I think the notion that you can't see a use that's permitted in the town code is kind of unreasonable.
Sorry.
I said, I think it's sort of an unreasonable position to take that when a use is permitted in a zoning district, that it can't be visible whatsoever. I'm not sure how you could have any use then at that point, right?
Well, you know, I can understand your point, but I mean, if you're gonna do it for like the Garfield School, just to protect that school from, you know, from anybody at that school seeing that field on an individual basis, somehow that's like, you know,
Well, we offered it
putting
because
a little Band-Aid on something that won't stop the bleeding.
we offered it because the board identified it as a special historic area that we were trying to
Okay,
make a meaningful attempt to address something at the board.
I'll think about that one. Let's go to question, I guess it's, I think it's D, on page 6.
Yes, so this, I sort of touched on this before. And when you look at the guidance in the workbook, it talks about several different things. It talks about distance and setbacks. It also talks about duration of view shed when you're driving through. So we think based upon A, the amount of screening, B, the pretty large setbacks from where this project is from roadways and viewpoints, and C, how it's essentially only viewable for a handful of seconds as you're driving across the road. That it falls within the characteristics that the workbook describes as small.
Well, now I revert back to the statement of what Wayne said about when we did the evaluation, there was a 50% of the time on Route 2, you can see this. Could you grab that phrase that,
This came out in the visual impact assessment. It said approximately 50% of Route 2, a high-use road that passes through the 2-mile radius of the use shed study area has views of the facility. So 50% of that segment has views of the facility.
I think it's also in there about the limited duration of view. I have to go back and pull it up. And that kind of fits in what the guidance talks about in the workbook.
okay? Anybody have any questions regarding this question 9D? All right.
I have a question. You keep referring to the workbook. I'm new to this. You know, I wasn't here when this project started. So we would have to follow the workbook.
The workbook is a guide It's not a regulation. The PEC has done under seeker, they've given you guidance how to answer some of the questions. Give you some examples, they give you some situations where you could deem them no impact, small impact, or moderate to large impact. That work has been around a while. That's the thing I always use when I review the long form and draft up a part 2 for the board.
But again, it's guideline, not rule.
They're guidelines.
Yeah.
Nothing in that is regulation.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments or questions regarding the EAF question D, routine travel and recreation? That we just- So let's go to page 7.
7 was just the comprehensive plan I got my talking before about,
Correct,
that we were just looking into.
right. But there is no,
Official
there
notation.
is no verbiage in the comprehensive plan to say that Route 2 is a designated scenic highway. Okay? Let's go to 8. Question 18F, character and natural landscape.
So we run through this similar exercise with this one, provide what the bullet book tells you to look at, the types of questions, things like that. And again, looking at things that are also in the adjacent area, there's distances and things like that. Again, if you look at the last page, almost the last page 9, it's a image from that pull-off on Creek Road of the existing project that's there. And we also believe, according to the guidance, should be also taken into consideration when you're looking at the landscape of the existing area.
I'll make a note. We refer back to this Creek Road project. Do you recall when that was approved?
Was it 2020, 2021?
No, I think it was longer than that. But the point I'm trying to make is
It was longer than that.
this was the first community solar farm that came before this board. That was our rookie season. We learned a lot. And we learned a lot moving forward with a lot of these other solar projects. I realize there's maybe some mistakes made on this one, but that's water over the dam. I shouldn't be held, this board should be held responsible to, that we had set a precedence with this fee. I look back at this and I go by Creek Road probably just as many as everybody in this audience does. And I sometimes cringe when I see it in the wintertime. I know I can see it, even though it's 9,000 pounds. But I just want to mention that that was our first round with the solar. And I think since then, we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot from the public. We've learned a lot about community solar. And so I just want to make that statement on behalf of.
Understood, and you know, I get that, but I think what we have to look at is what's existing. And the fact is that it's in the adjacent neighborhood, it's within a half a mile. So it should be a consideration.
Absolutely, I understand your position, but I just wanted to, my feelings on using that as like a benchmark.
I don't think we're using it as a benchmark. I think we're going beyond much more than what that project did. When you look at the landscaping that's proposed here, the efforts that we've undertaken.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this character of the natural landscape? This one?
Well, I would, object to the conclusion that the project is consistent with the existing landscape. And being that it's zoned agricultural and not residential, even speaks to it more, in my opinion, because there's nothing built on that land currently. It's vacant land, used for agricultural purposes in an ag district. So it has value as a piece of property for crop production. And I don't feel that it is consistent with that existing landscape. I take exception to that statement.
Okay, I will just say that it's my understanding that property hasn't been, farmed in some time. And while it is, technically an agricultural designated district, the town board did make a finding here that solar is permitted in the agricultural district. So legally speaking, they made a legislative finding, a decision that it would be consistent with that natural landscape in that district. I know Andy's not here. We talked about that, but.
So you're, so I'm clear, you're saying that 16,000 solar panels are consistent with the landscape as it sits now?
Well, what I'm saying is the town board, when they enacted this solar law, made a legislative finding that solar is consistent with the agricultural use in the district.
Have you ever driven that Kirk Road?
Yes, every time I leave here.
Sorry.
Every time I leave here.
There's not a lot of time to look around on Kirk Road, is there? I mean, you gotta pay attention when you're on that road.
That's precisely our point, that while you're driving on these roads, you're not really looking at the hillside, you're glancing at it for a few seconds as you drive by.
Actually, that hillside is in your face when you're driving down the Chilton Avenue. It's not like the project that Kirk Road, which is off to the side. If you're looking at where you're going as you're driving, it should be. Really not paying a whole lot of attention to that. Okay.
All right, I think we've heard your arguments. I'm going to turn the floor over to Wayne. We made some corrections, some.
Yeah, there's not been,
I'd like him to review that.
I gotta find it. Too much going on here. Hold on. Basically, based on the board's discussion in the last meeting, I changed one item. That was item 9. Which we talked about considerably. And that is 9C. There was 2 check boxes on item 9C, the proposed action may be visible from publicly accessible vantage points. We had seasonally in there, screened by summer foliage, visible during other seasons and year round. And the board unanimously wanted to change that to a moderate to large impact. So I changed that with both seasonally and year round. And that really is the only change I made based on that discussion. The rest of it was the same. And what the applicant was so eloquently made comments on.
Okay. At this point, I would like to get into some discussion with the board here as far as accepting your draft or changing your draft?
Well, it would no longer be a draft if the board is okay with it.
Okay. Okay, I'll entertain some comments from the board regarding that. We heard the applicant, his response to some of the questions we had, in particular in part 9. Paragraph 9. Anybody have any comments at this point?
I think we pretty much, the board pretty much agreed on all of the items in the draft, except for 9, that won't change. There was some discussion on 18.
On 18?
Yeah, that was the consistency with the community character, that's the inconsistent character of the existing natural landscape.
Was there any
There was
change?
some discussion of the proposed actions inconsistent with the predominant architectural scale and character. However, be honest, that doesn't really apply.
Okay.
When you go through the workbook, it talks about what your buildings look like. Doesn't really apply to this.
Okay.
I mean, if you wanted to argue that the panels are only 10 feet high. We talk about buildings being taller than the surrounding vegetation, that kind of scale.
So am I to assume that there's no other further comments? That the board, I guess I have to use the word, approves the part 2 that you have and instruct you to proceed to a part 3 draft?
Yeah, what I would like to do is talk with the planning board attorney before I draft up the part 3.
Okay.
Do you think you and Andy would be able to get together in advance of the next meeting?
Not sure, how long is he out?
I think he's only gone for a week.
Yeah.
We have a 3-week period between this meeting and our next meeting. No, I'm sure.
We'll definitely,
Yeah, he's not gonna be.
we'll definitely get together and draft something up for a part 3 Friday.
Seven. Excuse me. What was the next meeting? 7?
The 7th of August. Do I need a,
I did have a question about your, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Let's finish the single part.
Okay, I'm not
I
sure.
think the minutes will
officially-
show that you accepted the part 2 as I drafted it.
Yes.
There's no other.
I don't need to make a motion.
It just kind of, we'll roll into the part
Okay.
2 next.
Okay. All right. Now, what questions do you have?
I was just looking for some further clarification on your letter to engineer regarding the tier 1 distinction. My research shows that distinction is regarding the sale of these type of panels. We want to think in the meeting minutes, I'll go back to those. You stated that the project will use tier 1 solar panels and do not contain toxic materials. So those two statements appear to me to be together, and I just wanted to.
Right, so tier 1 is who manufactures the panels, where they come from, the efficiency, And it's done, I know you had asked who made that distinction, it's Bloomberg, and their global research.
But Bloomberg states in their discussion, section 1, and I quote, "We strongly recommend module purchasers not use this list as a measure of quality, but instead consult technical due diligence."
Right, which, and we've also provided the module
Okay,
page.
just wanted that clarification. That the tier 1 is not about the quality of panel.
And I understand from that handout that those panels are manufactured in Japan.
Correct.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions for the applicant? And I think we're all set till the 7th of August. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, that concludes our regular business. Our regular agenda, I should say. We have new business. We have 3 items on the agenda. The first one is is Freedom Arms. Okay, we have received copies. I need a forklift before. I think we should review the process of why you're here. If everybody recalls, the applicant came before us a while back. I don't have the whole timeline at this point. And with that, he wanted to amend a previously approved special use permit at his home for the sale of firearms. The amendment involved that it would be not just a mail order business per se, but it was going to involve having an additional visitor to the site to clarify, and you might want to explain this, what it had to do with your license. Is that correct?
Yes, and the fact New York changed a bunch of laws in 2023. So my request was to allow 3 customers per week, not on the same day, to my residents to accept the end permit.
Okay. So the process went through, you had a public hearing
Yes, sir.
and everything like that. However, there was a ruling, I believe there was a comment initiated by the public that this was a retail business. It was not allowed under the zone. In a residential area, in the B, would it be 25?
I think R40, if memory serves.
Okay. Not B 25, what am I saying? R 25, okay. But regardless, and it was checked out by the building department made a determination that it was not an acceptable use under our existing zoning, that it was a retail business in a residential area. At which point, the planning board now was out of the picture here. We could not proceed ahead with the application. But the appeal process allowed you to go before the zoning to appeal that ruling.
Yes, sir.
And which you did, and you successfully got it.
Yes, sir.
So now, you have to come before us to actually get the amendment to the special use permit to be processed. But you also have initiated a process of a site plan review based on the findings of the building department, which you were not happy about. I know you got some legal opinions and so forth and so on, and went back and forth. But lo and behold, you're here now, we're gonna do a site plan review to accompany the amendment to the special use permit. Some initial conversations were that there was just the site plan, the actual drawing had to show, handicap parking, accessibility, lighting, just the, hours of operation, that type of thing, which you have submitted to us.
For the most part, yeah. There's one or two things there that you mentioned, like, for example, lighting. I don't think I'd show anything with lighting, but I do have a floodlight there on my garage.
Okay.
But yes, I did submit a overall site plan. I'm not sure which one you guys have, but if you'd like, I did bring copies that I can hand out.
I have one here that I got in the packet.
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
Now, you have to realize something, that you are in a new business. And we're giving you an opportunity to present this plan. We haven't really had time to really look at this.
Okay.
So we're gonna ask some questions. There's some things that have to be changed or additional information. You'll be asked to do that. And then we'll probably reschedule you for our next meeting for review and approval or
Okay.
moving forward. Just so you know the timeline. And obviously, we've already had a public hearing. A site plan, public hearing is optional. I would recommend to the board that, since we already had a public hearing on it, that they waiver that. But let's take a quick look at this drawing, explain what you're going to do off the drawing, and let's see if we can proceed ahead with something here.
Okay.
Get everything lined up.
Yeah, so I'll start right from the beginning. My process is by appointment only. So, for example, if you would like to purchase something from me, you would call me, you place the order over the phone. Because I don't stock anything, I would have to then order it. Once it comes in, then you can come to my business, place of residence. As you can see, I've got a 200-foot driveway, so plenty of parking. Any able-bodied person can come right to my front door. As soon as you walk to the front door, right to the right is my office. And if you didn't pay over the phone, you could pay right there. If it's something that does not require a background check, I can hand it right over to you. If it does require a background check, you have to fill out those forms. I submit for approval. If approved, then I turn it over, send you out your merit away.
That background check, is that done instantaneously, or does it take a long period of time?
It depends on the person. 95% of the time, it is instantaneously. If there's anything wrong with the background check, it'll come back and I'll tell you delayed. In which case, I would ask said customer to leave. And it can take anywhere from usually you get it back in 24 to 48 hours, but it can take weeks. Once I got the response, then I could call the person back.
Your background checks go through the
FBI.
FBI?
Actually, New York just changed it, so depending on what you're trying to get, it could be the state of New York. But if it's a firearm, it is the FBI. NICS is the software that they use.
You do background check before you order the gun? Firearm?
No, because that would involve the person to come to my house. So if something came up and you got denied, it's a 25% restocking fee. And I obviously can't turn over the product to you.
Right, that's, I mean, why order the gun if you can't get it? But then you got a rifle and go in a hole for.
So say you wanted to purchase something from me, call me, tell me what it is, I place the order. We set the time for you to come over. I run the background check in this hypothetical scenario. If it was denied, I would keep 25%, and then either send it back, or I do sales over GunBroker, which is essentially eBay for firearms. That's lately been almost 100% of my business. So I could sell it there too, but then there's a whole bunch of fees involved.
There was a situation, one of the reasons why it came before to have this amendment was the fact that before, you used to use other dealers to process
Correct.
the FBI background and all that.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And you had a difficulty after a while because they wouldn't be doing it for you because they thought you were cutting into their business.
Correct, yeah. Actually, one guy owns probably 95% of all the firearm stores in the Capital District. There's like 3 that aren't owned by him, unless it's another at-home FFL. What I do is it's not rare. There's a bunch of them all over. Yeah, he was eventually just like, yeah, you can't do this anymore. So I've actually, the few people that I have been able to, been using Saratoga Weapon and Tactical, but anyone down here, they don't want to drive an hour north to
Yeah.
go and pick it up.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Provisions for handicap. You have a couple steps going up onto your porch before you get into the house?
Yep, there is one step. So what I had offered in this picture here is anybody who is in a wheelchair. There's a couple options. One, they could come into my attached garage, or my recommendation, if the board would allow it, is just to stay in the vehicle. I can run everything right from either via tablet or collect the information, go inside, and then bring it back out. What the ATF actually requires is that all transfers are done at the address that is on my license, which is 502 Pinelands. So if a transfer is coming out of my hands, it either needs to go to another FFL, which is what I was doing before, or to the end user, but at my place of residence, whether it's inside or I bring it out to them, it doesn't matter.
I think the point is that if the person wanted to come in, you do have access to your home,
Office, yeah.
office.
Well, to the garage, you're saying for handicap?
Yes, yeah, any wheelchair could
You
go
must have
right
a
into
step
that
from the
garage.
garage into the house also.
Into the house, yes, yeah. Or there, like I said, there is one step to go to the front door. Currently, that's why for ADA, I use the garage, because that's all level.
Like changing it from home occupancy to more of a commercial. That's something you're gonna have to deal with the building department for parking, handicap, stuff like that. I'm familiar with all the other stuff. I'm not anti-gun control, so.
The activity's gotta be done inside the structure. You can't conduct business outside the structure.
It's attached garage counts inside the structure.
You can't, it's gotta be in the primary structure. You can't use an accessory building. You could use the basement, you could use the garage that's inside the structure for handicap accessibility. But you can't use a parking lot as
Okay.
conducting business.
But I can use the garage.
This garage is attached to the main residence.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you just can't use the car. In other words, somebody can't drive up in a car and service the car. It has to be inside the residence.
I see that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's all.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Matt?
So that's what I'm bringing up, that, someone's for handicap, whether they drive into your garage, whatever.
I got you.
I'm very familiar with I'm looking at more codes.
I agree, yeah.
I don't see a problem with this, this drawing that he made as far as a acceptable site plan in this case. Does anybody have any issues with that?
I mean, he could just show where his lights are. The light in your garage, to show where that light is.
Yeah, it's motion
Which is right off
censored,
the
it's
gable
right
end of
smack dab in the
this.
middle.
So right off the gable end of this structure here.
The actual house structure, it's, so I don't know if you can see the white car that's there, it's right there attached to my garage. It's a motion censored floodlight, which it's actually a camera too.
I might suggest also have a couple parking spots designated on the drawing showing the building department has an idea. Maybe in, that looks like an additional garage, a new garage that maybe someone's there showing 2 spots
Does,
on the drawing.
does any of the area in yellow?
Well, that kind of leaves it a little vague to where, you know,
If you could just show that there's a parking space like right in front of your garage.
Yeah.
And then
And
show a parking space kind of parallel along the edge of your parking lot there.
okay,
I kind of lost the conversation here a little bit. Why are we putting additional parking places?
Well, we just want to see that you can fit a car there essentially. I mean, he's got just this area
that truck's is
with no
a
dimensions.
1500 ZR2, and the other one right next to it is a Lexus GX. The detached garage is 1,000 square feet. So there's, you could,
I know what you're saying, but just show it. Just put
Yeah,
one
just
there
put
and say-
some blinds there.
okay,
Yeah.
what's the average parking spot? About 20?
And then I would show that in front of your garage as a handicap accessible spot, and then that's another 4 feet
correct.
patch next to it.
All right, 4 feet, 4 foot patch next to it.
5.
5? All right. There's plenty of space there, I don't have a problem with that.
The additional note 4, there is,
One, sorry, typo.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I believe one of the requirements was, the allocated office space, over 50% of it can be used for storage, not storage, but stocked inventory. I have one safe and it's far less than 50% of my office.
Okay. All right, anybody else have any other comments, questions? I think if you make those drawings, or those changes to the site plan here.
You do this yourself?
Yeah.
Nice job.
Thank you. This Google Maps is doing these beautiful things.
Does anybody else have any additional questions for Zach? I think we can proceed, our next meeting will put down the schedule. And that's for August 7th. And if you have a drawing beforehand, then it can be distributed before the board. For the meeting.
Small.
Okay, we can do that. If nobody has any other questions, I think we're done for this evening.
Awesome.
Do you have any questions?
No, you can send it to us and we'll review it just to, for the size and
Yeah,
we'll help you with that, Zach.
awesome. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for your patience.
No problem. Have a good one.
Okay. Okay, second on our new business is Coal Lane Major Subdivision Project. Mr. Reeves, welcome back.
Thank you very much. My name is Russ Reeves, Reeves Engineering, 90 Woolwich, New York. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to give an update as to what we resolved, what we revised on the subdivisions package. We've been working with Mr. Bradley at the water department, and we were asked to revise various lots to minimize site disturbance. The first 4 sheets of your package show the original configuration of the lots with the septic system located. Subsequent to several meetings we had with Mr. Bradley, a request was made that we adjust the lot configurations in order to leave as much of the vegetation on site as we can, the tree line. On sheet C101, which is a colorized sheet within the package, sheet C101 shows a revised configuration in which hatch lines show vegetation, tree line that is to remain. During that time frame, this site was a former gravel mine. There's a total of 14 lots. The lots are served by individual septic systems and town water. On the site, we found very well-drained soils. It was requested that in the areas of the detention pond, there's 2 detention ponds, 2 infiltration basins. They're shown on C121, sheet C121, which is in the lower right-hand corner of the sheet. At the center of the cul-de-sac, we found extremely well-drained soils that extend very deep on the site. That will be used as an infiltration basin. The lower lot, adjacent to lot 14, we found very well-drained soils that extend beyond 12 feet below grade. So majority of the stormwater we're able to hold on site, as well as using roadside swales, which are broadly graded ditches to also accept stormwater that will dissipate stormwater within those ditch sections. We've been working with Windsor County Environmental Health towards the final approval of the septic systems. At the end of this month, we have a meeting with the county engineer to go over the final set of site plan and sanitary drawings, the overall construction package. Next week, next Thursday, we have a meeting with Mr. Bradley to review the various drainage issues which we're resolving. And the final design to accompany that shortly after that. Bear with me just a moment, I'm sorry. So that, in a nutshell, the main issue on the subdivision, because this was a gravel mine, wasn't so much the septic system configurations, rather the drainage and how that's handled, and to minimize site disturbance. So this is basically a quick update as to where we are. Mr. Bowstill and I will be meeting next week as well to discuss the next steps of the schedule, to schedule our next meeting. Once we complete the final drainage design with Mr. Bradley, and obtain a letter of approval from Windsor County for the septic systems. They won't give a final approved stamp construction package until we get final approval from the town board, the planning board.
Okay.
So, but what we want to do is accompany, at one point, our meeting, we want to bring that letter of approval from the county with us.
Okay.
So that basically, in a nutshell, is the synopsis of where we are.
Okay.
there any questions that we like to?
I just had a question, don't have a scale with me, what the slope of the drop roadway is going in. See, have a profile, see 121,
Yeah,
but I can't
well, you know, I think,
read that.
we provided, little by 17s, which were a little bit handier at the
Yes, that's
at
fine.
at your desk. I think what we're gonna do is we are gonna provide full set of drawings where they are to actual scale.
She needs to see your landscaping schedule.
That,
She needs to see your landscaping schedule.
that's right. No, there is a landscaping schedule, and we'll provide a full site, yes, we'll provide a full size set.
Okay. So you're gonna be meeting with Wayne?
Yeah, we're just gonna go out what the steps are to get through the process.
Okay.
As far as
And
engineering review and all that.
I assume you would want to be put on our next agenda to keep this project going? Or?
Well, if you have no objection, I'd like to be with Wayne first.
Yeah.
And, because after my meeting with Wayne, we do have a meeting the following day with Mr. Bradley to finalize the drainage.
Okay.
And I just want to see what'll be necessary to do that. We may wind up going to, not the next meeting in August, but the meeting right after that.
Okay. We will,
You can always cancel the rest.
Pardon?
You can always cancel.
why don't we put you on the agenda?
Thank you.
And then,
You might have it, you might have that, what I'm hoping to do is have that drainage piece completed by then.
Okay, why don't we put you on the agenda for the 7th?
That's super.
And then, if you, like Mike said, if you want to cancel, that's perfectly,
I think we might get to, that sounds super to set. Yeah.
I know this project has gone
Yeah,
back and forth several times over the years, and
I think there was
I'd like to keep it going.
I think there was a concern with the drainage and with the neighbor.
Yeah.
And that was, we found that was really confined to the neighbor and their neighbor. It wasn't related at all to this project.
Correct.
And I think that was part of the really big that we had.
All right. Okey-doke.
So thank you very much.
And then we
Thank
gotta
you.
do too many lots in that end. That's 14.
Yeah,
I think that is already,
I think that was
already
it.
done, the waiver.
I don't know. It may have been before I got on the board.
Well, my review of this, they were almost approved, it was almost there.
It was about 20 years.
Can we check that out? We'll have the building department look into that. Make sure. Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thank you for your help.
Take care.
Have a good night.
And we have one other business item on new business, and that is John Deverly, special use permit for a solar installation. John, you here? Yes, you are. Okay. Sorry I had to wait too long.
That's okay.
Just for the record, John called me last week and just discussed the procedure behind this. I don't want to, I want to make that clear that we discussed it, told him what the process is going to be, and so he's here before us on a new business to get this project going. Why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown? And I would suggest referencing your drawing at the end to show where this is located.
Sure. Essentially, we're looking at putting a solar array, not a commercial solar, but residential. In this particular case, my lot, the solar array is not going to go behind my home. It's actually going to go behind my neighbor's home, since I own property back there. And it's located in that specific area because it's the only place that would fit. Having said that, we would need a variance since a 25-foot setback is required. And we would only have 20 feet from the front and the back. So 5 feet short on each side. And that's essentially the reason that I'm here.
You couldn't reconfigure the array to, be longer and less wide? Couldn't do that?
No, only because of the way the sun rises and sets. I mean, as I understand it, it needs to be, the array needs to be in that shape.
Okay.
I can look into that though.
Well, obviously, you're gonna have to, you have to get a variance through the zoning. I believe the zoning meets next
Monday.
Monday. Are you planning on being there for that?
I personally cannot be there, but I have made arrangements for the East-West Electric personnel, or a person to be there.
Okay.
Doug Clark, he's taking care of the project.
Okay.
How's your neighbor feel about that?
I haven't spoken to him specifically, but, if there's a problem, I'm sure we can put some foliage up to, make everybody happy.
Where on Cranston is it?
Directly across, my home is directly across from Petticoat Lane.
Where?
Petticoat Lane?
It's got that, it's like a brick two-story colonial.
So you're on the west
It's on the
side,
left, going.
left side going up Cranston from Pines Gap.
Yes.
Correct, yes. If you're facing my home, it would, this particular spot would be. It's in a kind of a valley,
There's something goes up behind you, isn't there?
there's a big hill behind it, correct? It goes up.
I don't know, some of you may recall that at one time when Marx put his house on the top of the hill and he relocated the cul-de-sac, you had some initial drainage problems. The drainage came down to the back of your property, I remember.
My backyard turned into a little pond, that's correct.
Okay.
But he rectified that right away.
Yeah.
There's no problem.
I would suggest, in addition to obviously going before the zoning board, that you, this will require a public hearing on our part, probably a public hearing on their part. But our part would probably ask a particular question about, before we get to the public hearing portion of it, I would suggest that you contact and have a discussion with, is it Mr. Meyer?
Correct.
About what you're going to do. We previously discussed possibly the homeowner towards Pine Woods Avenue, because that end of that lot is going to be on theirs.
Correct.
So I think that would be necessary, because obviously we're going to be hearing a public hearing on this, so. But it's better to get over that hurdle quicker. Anybody else have any other questions on this?
Is this the solar where you're putting it? There's a house there and a chicken and coop out there.
The chicken coop would be the next, it would be the last house. In other words, Myers' house is next door. The chicken coop house is one down from there, one down towards Pine.
Is the whole fence around the entire property?
You know where Ross McCurson used to live?
Yeah.
That's
I
his.
got it.
Okay.
Black fence around it.
Would you also include
Yes.
the proposed routing of the, assuming underground electric back to the house?
Sure.
And where board is gonna be?
Where,
I'm assuming you're gonna have DC to AC changed. whether it's on the panels or at the house or somewhere in between. You could indicate that.
Absolutely.
Can you also provide like a cut sheet from the guy doing the installation? What these are gonna look like?
The physical appearance of the.
Well, yeah, they'll have like a structural plan of what is, how it's put together.
Yeah.
Like an elevation and everything.
Yeah, how high it's gonna be, so forth and so on.
Yeah, wherever you're buying it from is gonna have that. If you can just get that cut sheet of that panel system.
Is this a rack system or is it rotating?
Rack, it's
Stationary?
stationary, correct.
And the size of that, probably there's
30 by 20.
20, so how many panels are there?
To be honest with you. I don't
9,000?
know. No,
So,
approximately 20, I think, maybe less.
You can see it from space.
all right.
I picked it.
I think you got a few things to work on here.
Yes,
We'll put you on our agenda for our next meeting,
okay.
which is on the 7th of August. And unfortunately, you're gonna be the last one on the agenda. You can maybe time it a little bit. We got, CVE coming in, so. All right,
Sounds good.
all right,
Thank you.
okay, good luck on Monday. All
I'll
right.
let you know how it goes. Thank
Well, we can't proceed unless you get that, you know
I
that.
didn't know that.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes all my new business. Do we have any old business? None? Okay, let's review the agenda. Okay, Crown Castle, both those were approved. Polito was approved. Paramount, we're gonna put them on the agenda for tentative. Because I have no idea. CVE, Freedom Arms, Silas, the major subdivision of Cole Hammer, and then Devily's special use permit. So that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items on the agenda, is that correct?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any additions or have any questions on that agenda? Is there something I missed? And Wayne, you're gonna have our part 3 for, you're gonna be consulting with Andy on this.
Then, yeah, I'll have it before the meeting.
Okay. Perfect. Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion, we adjourn, do I have a second? Yep. Have a second, all those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, have a good night.
How are you? I'm fine.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
Like a Dollar General and one.
it's a dollar store.
Dollar General.
Yeah, and then you just gotta do the, make the disc.
Yeah,